Pirates, Opium and Good Neighbors. How Solovyov justifies the current war by rewriting the history of Britain and Europe. How Russian propaganda explains Ukrainian sabotage and Europe's failure. In this episode of Evening with Vladimir Solovyov, Russian propaganda demonstrates a characteristic set of techniques: collectivizing accusations against Ukraine and the UK, delegitimizing the Ukrainian leadership, ridiculing European politicians, and claiming that US-Russia negotiations will essentially determine Ukraine's future. For European readers, it's useful to consider how these arguments are constructed and what purposes they serve. 1. Ukraine as the universal culprit of all sabotage. In the first part of the excerpt, Solovyov lists a number of events: strikes on ships in Turkish waters, the explosion of the Nord Stream pipeline, attacks on infrastructure in the Black Sea, and attributes responsibility for each to Ukraine. The logic is simple: no evidence, it could have been Ukraine. There is evidence, it could still have been Ukraine. And if it's inconvenient to blame someone else, it's also Ukraine. This creates the image of a proxy state, one that's not a pity and conveniently used as cover. This simultaneously deflects responsibility from Russia and shifts blame to Kyiv, creating the illusion of international chaos, allegedly triggered by Ukrainian terrorism, but in reality described in a way that coincides with Moscow's interests. 2. Expanding the accusations from Ukraine to the UK. The next step is shifting the focus to London. Britain is declared the curator of Ukrainian operations, a historical pirate power, a weak link in NATO, whose infrastructure lies at the bottom of the sea and can be destroyed. This is a broader strategic objective: to portray the UK as the source of a threat to global security rather than Russia, which is effectively waging war. The British connection is being used to undermine trust in Western unity, create the impression that NATO is incapable of defending its own countries, show that Ukraine's allies are themselves jeopardizing global trade. Well, how convenient, huh? Who attacked the transport vessels sailing under some foreign flags in Turkish territorial waters? Ukraine. Who blew up the Nord Streams? Ukraine. Who blew up then the oil pipeline from Novorossiysk? Yes, Ukraine. And who are those moving around Africa then? Other tankers? Well, the main suspicion...